Alright, what's up guys? Today we are doing another short Lost Ark guide video. This one may run a little bit longer because I'm going to be covering multiple topics that are by themselves a little bit too short to do individually, and they're all kind of interrelated, so it just makes sense to cover them at the same time. And so the main theme of this is going to be alts and farming with your alts to feed your main character, and just the benefits that you get from having alts in the game, especially once they are level 50 and able to have access to the endgame content. And I believe it's still available. Once you get one character to level 50, you will get a power pass. And once you get that power pass after completing the quest line, the main quest line up to Vern Castle, you will get one, and then as soon as you use it, you will receive another. So if you haven't already used them, I would highly recommend you do that immediately, and we're going to cover why next. So basically, it gives you 3 characters at level 50 that have access to in-game content. And let's, so this here, Deezerker is my main, and then the Paladin and Sorceress are both my alts. And what this lets you do is you have access to all that content, and they are per character. It's not per account or per roster. So you can, let's just take a look at my alts here real quick. You can run the content on your alts and feed the mats to upgrade your item level to your main character just by moving it into your roster storage. And this will allow you to more quickly progress your main character while being able to just do it purely through Chaos Dungeons and through Guardian Raids and Abyssal Dungeons, plus, you know, some of the other in-game content as well. But those are going to be the main 3 that you'll do. So you can see here that your alts, you don't even have to log in, depending on how much time you have. The most efficient way to do it, just from a time standpoint, is to let your rest accumulate, and then once the reset happens on Thursdays, you want to come in here. And so the other thing that you may not have realized is that your Una's tasks are also per character. So having 3 alts lets you do, normally you can only do 3 weekly Una's tasks per character, but this lets you do 3 per character. So that's gonna let you, if you don't like doing the dailies, which personally I don't really like doing them, they just feel like chores, and the amount of time that they take and the rewards that they give aren't really that worth it, in my opinion, compared to the weekly ones that are all either Chaos Dungeon or Guardian Raid related. Those are the main ones that I'm using, just because it's more efficient, in my opinion, because that's what I'm already doing, just especially from a time standpoint. So what I have been doing, what I like to do, what seems to work well, is I will do the Guardian Raids initially, because when you have your rest bonus, it lets you harvest 2 souls per Guardian kill. So you can get in and kill, and it doesn't matter what Guardian it is for the Una's weekly task. So typically I just kill Ernal because it's the fastest. You can see here there's a record of 55 seconds, and probably getting carried by, you know, someone in tier 2 or tier 3. But anyways, you can get in and do it in a matter of minutes, and then you harvest 2 souls per run. So that gives you 4 souls, which the weekly task is 6 souls to clear that weekly task. So you can get, you know, you can get some roster XP, some mats. Some of these mats are bound. Harmony shards are per character. You can't transfer those. The mats you get from the actual quest here are bound, but the ones that you just acquire either through disenchanting or through just picking up in the dungeons, you can see here, you can just move them into your roster storage, and then you can use them on any of your characters. So it's just easier that way if you want to upgrade a couple characters. You don't have to move them back and forth. You can just leave them there and use them directly from the roster storage. And then also, same thing with the Chaos Dungeon. If you're, you know, not wanting to do it on all your characters, it also gets a rest bonus. So the way that the rest bonuses work is that if you don't use up, so you get, you know, 2 Guardian Raids a day and 2 Chaos Dungeons with Aura of Resonance a day. If you don't use both, you will accumulate 1 rest bonus. If you use 50, you will accumulate half of a rest bonus. Or in the case of the Guardian Raid here, you can see I've got this half rest bonus. That's because I just cleared 1 Guardian Raid that day. So the other one became half of a rest bonus. And it maxes out at 100, so when it gets to 100, you want to, if you jump in and clear 2 souls, you'll clear out 2 of these, and it'll take, you know, 2 days or 4 days to accumulate both of the rest bonuses back up. So from a time standpoint, it's really efficient, and you'll, you know, stack up a lot of harmony shards. So later on, when you do decide to push forward with these characters, you can. It'll be easier. The other nice thing is you're going to get some engravings and just general things that are roster wide. The next great thing, so I didn't realize this initially, but, you know, so I'm going to give you this tip so you can do it immediately. The first thing you want to do is get your character level to 340. So initially I was thinking that I wouldn't even need to upgrade my alts at all, and I would just farm the lowest level dungeon. After a little bit, I realized that you need to do these Abyssal Dungeons weekly, and you want to do it on all of your characters, because up to 6. So up to 6. More than that, I don't know if there's much of a benefit, because the weekly gold limit caps out at 6 characters. So you can run these weekly dungeons and get gold, which you're going to need, because when you start getting to higher item level, it costs gold to upgrade. And you can also get these Knight's Oath, which allow you to get your first purple set. And in this second dungeon here, you can actually get the purple set items from drops. So what I would recommend you do is the first time you clear these at 340 item level, save your Knight's Oaths from the first dungeon, and then see what piece of gear drops for you. You'll get 1 in the second dungeon, and then you will have enough Knight's Oaths to craft the remaining pieces of the set. And these sets give you pretty significant bonuses. So the first one is an 8% attack speed boost and an additional 10%. And that's on top of the additional damage that the weapon already does. So compared to the blue 302 set, this is significantly more powerful. And it's very easy to get, and then you will also be able to get a lot of purple jewelry and engravings. So that will make your character better at farming the low content to feed mats to your main. And it's going to start getting you some more engravings that will rack up for your account, as well as some gold. At the end of these dungeons, you can get a bonus chest. You get 80 gold for each Abyssal Dungeon, and you can spend 30 of that gold to get a bonus chest, which will give you Quite a bit of stuff. I think it's probably worth it. I haven't really sat down and mathed it out. But basically, you're still getting, even if you take the bonus chest, you're still getting a net 50 gold positive and a whole bunch of extra mats for that 30 gold. It's up to you whether or not you think it's worth it for that 30 gold cost. It may or may not be, so just, figure that out on your own. If you need the mats, or if you just really need that 30 gold. And so that is really the main things that you're going to want to do with your alts. And so as you're doing these, you just want to make sure that you're accepting the weekly Una tasks while you're doing this content, because then you will obviously complete these. So if you do 2 weekly tasks per character, that will net you 72 points, and you will get your full weekly Una token award. All while you're doing content that you're already doing. And to me, the Chaos Dungeons, the Guardian Raids, are a lot more fun than sailing around on a boat and running around on an island just mashing the G key. So to me personally, that's the way that I'm progressing right now. And then one last thing on the Una's token. You want to save up the tokens. We'll run over here to the gold shop real quick. And you want to save them up and exchange them when you have accumulated enough to get the large gold chest, because it's going to net you more gold than turning it in for the smaller chests. Just do that by default every time. It'll take you a little bit longer. It'll come in bursts versus just smaller increments. But that's going to net you the most gold from the Una's tokens. So, as you can see, with the alts, you're going to have a much easier time accomplishing really the main things that you want to be progressing on with your characters. So you can feed your mats then into your main character, and that's going to make leveling him up, getting his item level higher, easier significantly. And it's, in my opinion, going to be a lot more fun than doing the island farming. At least at this stage in the game. And a couple other things that I did want to kind of address in terms of the game from where I'm sitting, since I'm still, progressing to the Tier 2 content. I've been hearing a lot of discussion that the honing rates really bottom out as you get into the higher item levels. So if you're someone like me that doesn't have the time to play 10 or 12 hours a day, and you're not gonna whale for this game, personally, I don't mind spending money on cosmetics and convenience things like storage or the crystalline aura. To me, it's just more like a monthly subscription. So that doesn't really bother me. In terms of pay-to-win elements, I think that's pretty standard and common in games these days. If you look at Path of Exile, that's a game to me that really has the free-to-play monetization just done in a way that is very, very fair to the players, and there's not really any pay-to-win at all or whaling mechanics in the game. One thing in Lost Ark that I'm not a fan of, it doesn't ruin the game for me, but just knowing that people can whale and convert money into currency to purchase power by getting higher item levels. That's one thing that's kind of frustrating, and I've heard discussion of the way it kind of seems to me is that perhaps they've left out some of the weekly content from the Korean and Russian servers that would allow free-to-play players to progress quicker. And there's some, basically it's just like Guardian raids and some Chaos Dungeon type stuff, but it sets your item level to be comparable to that content. So it's more challenging. You can't just, insta-kill the Guardian boss. But at the same time, so they left out that content, which would give us more mats and more gold. But they kept the really low honing rates from the release version of the Korean game, from my understanding. So we have less mats to level up or increase our item level, but at the same time we have really low honing rates. So and then apparently when you get to 1370 the rates increase. So it's like you hit a point where you are almost stuck unless you spend money, and then if you spend some money and get to 1370, suddenly it becomes easier to progress again. So from my standpoint, I'm just gonna from a quote unquote meta standpoint, it might be more worth it to kind of spread out your gains right now across multiple characters, and when you get one character closer to that threshold where the honing rates just bottom out, it might almost be worth it to wait and hold on and just accumulate those mats a little bit for a little while, because I could very easily see them changing something or patching something, either increasing the honing rates potentially, or changing the drop rates, or not drop rates, but adding in that weekly content to allow us to get more mats. But really, I think that I could see them changing the honing rates. So it might be worth it to kind of see where that goes before you just immediately start dumping all your currency and trying to increase your item level when the honing rates are just really bad and the ability to get the materials is not as good as it should be. So you can see that I did spend $100 on the Platinum Edition, but now I'm just using those crystals to extend the crystalline aura and using the cosmetics. I don't really have any intentions right now of putting any more money into the game, aside from what I have now for... I'll just continue to use the crystals I have when I'm playing to extend my crystalline aura and potentially, get some other cosmetics if there's some that catch my eye. But so as of yet, that's not been the case. But like I said, the pay to acquire power aspect of the game, I'm not a fan of, and if they're trying to force people into doing that, I think it's gonna not work out well for the health and the longevity of the game. So I'm hoping that they will make some changes. And like I said, I'd say that there's definitely a strong possibility that could happen. So if the honing rates are starting to get abysmal, you may want to just kind of hang back and focus on maybe one or two of your alts and getting them up closer to that point, and just hanging on to those mats and see what happens, because they may make some changes before long, and that will then, if you're someone that has a stockpile of materials, you will be able to then, catch up and maybe even overtake some people that really just burned through all theirs and got unlucky or just weren't able to get above that 1370 item level. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks for listening and watching. I hope this kind of helps you out and gives you some pointers on how to use your alts and your power pass. The power pass is really easy. You can skip it. If you go through it, it takes about 15 or 20 minutes, and then you get a free pet. The free pet, you just don't get the same one because it is account wide, and the the elemental bonus for it. It will help you out on running your stronghold missions. So look at the bonuses you don't already have and get those. So, all right, thanks for tuning in, guys, and remember to give them the D.